Then I will start right away. Welcome back to another session. We are here again with Nicolas from the Dual Commander Rules Committee. Welcome back.
Hello, thank you to welcome me.
It's not too long ago that you joined us.
I'm also here, by the way.
Yeah,
Hello.
Samuel is also here. The people see you on screen because I have these little icons popping up. Don't worry about that. Of course, Samuel is with us. And since I'm on vacation today, we are doing this little video in preparation for you guys to talk about the most recent changes. Last time there were a couple of bans and lots of emotions going or floating around. This time we have 5 unbans at the same time, no bans whatsoever. We're gonna start right away with the loyal retainers, as you see on screen already. So for as long as Samuel and me play Dual Commander, this card was actually never legal. And I was checking online and seeing if I can find like a phrase or like an explanation why this card was originally banned. I assume this was like an orientation on multiplayer, maybe, but I have actually no idea. So maybe you know about the reason why this card was banned, like specific commanders, some interaction, or like, do you actually? And what was the actual reason that we release it from today on?
I don't really know the reason of why the card was banned because I began to play in Dual Commander in 2021. So I was not here when the card was banned, and I never play the card. But I think the card was banned because there was a combo like with Sapphire or something, and also was a way to reanimate stuff in Calder maybe. I think the card was played.
You mean I think the 2-mana legendary that brings something back? Yeah, right?
Yeah, there's an infinite combo there, and there's also, I think, with Survival of the Fittest, the line was like that's a kind of classic line to survival for a legendary creature and then for the reanimation for it.
Yeah, mostly Yona, I think, and Griselbrand at this time.
Yeah.
And the card was playing Carador, I think. It was a good deck at the time.
Yeah, I think that was what I had in mind, that Carador had something to do with it. A card is obviously way too bad for today's Magic. But go on. So here we are. The card is unbanned. Why is that?
And I'm not thinking the card should be really strong in the format. It's really slow. And yeah, the card could be unbanned sooner, but there was a problem of consistency. And the beginning of the year, we banned Reanimate and Balance. And it was weird to say, okay, we banned Reanimate, but we unbanned Loyal Retainers. And it's, I think, important to communicate clearly with people. And we don't send the opposite message to people. So for me, I think the card was not strong enough for the format and could be unbanned, but it was not the time to do that. And right now, we want to have a process of updating the bat list to better reflect the current state of the format. So it's now the time, I think, to unban Royal Returners as any other card that we'll see in the video.
Yeah, we very much appreciate that, I would say, that you're making the effort to having a look at some cards of the ban list and thinking about unbanning them again. I think Loyal Retainers, we talked about it a couple of times in these sessions on Monday evening, that especially these days, if you have a look at all the big creatures that are played in a Reanimator shell, first of all, for Loyal Retainers, you have to, outside of any other combo, you have to run white, which is only the case in Aminatu. Secondly, there are not that many legendary creatures played these days anymore. Back then it was...
You don't really want to play legendary creature to animate because you have Purges too. So
Yeah.
Because you have pairs if you prefer to play not legendary, and you have unmarked grave also. So I think I know I played like Glarb 2 weeks ago, and I didn't play Griselbrand in my deck for this reason. So yeah.
And I think I even think like talking about reanimator strategies, Griselbrand is already on the edge of being cut from some decks because like the quality of lords, Lord of Extinctions, Archons, Archon again, whatsoever is so high, and they're like Brute Lord, they're all coming as non-legendary creatures that it's very hard to justify to run
Yep.
either of them.
And
With
Griselbrand is also very, very good on the card advantage side, but very bad on the tempo side.
Yeah.
So against any aggressive deck, drawing 7 cards usually doesn't do that much, but paying 7 life to do it, if the opponent has a removal for Griselbrand afterwards, you've basically taken 7 damage to do very little and maybe even win the opponent the game.
Yeah.
It's still a good effect to draw 7 card, but yeah, can be dangerous. And there is a Proto Modern this weekend, and we see that there is one of the best decks of the format is Espero Goyos.
Yeah.
So you need to play a legendary creature. I know that the team of Jean-Emmanuel de Prat, Baral, and the team Heavy Play don't play Griselbrand in this deck and play only Atraxa.
Exactly. Yeah.
Also because Griselbrand can't be pitched on Force of Negation or Solitude, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Ephemerate is much better with Atraxa than it is with Griselbrand.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think the only deck that currently uses or utilizes Griselbrand is Neoform, but which is also present at it. I'm not even sure one deck made it to the top 8, I think, but that's for another talk. Let's get back to Duel Commander. Yeah, that's about the Loyal Retainers. Should we head over to the first Commander unban?
Yeah, I think this is another one of those, this could have been off the ban list sooner type cards, which I think is great that it's coming off the ban list now. I think it gives, in my opinion, it gives more legitimacy to the format, because when you look at when you start a format and you look at a ban list and you see cards like Esior, which is being unbanned, it's not a card that you would expect on the ban list nowadays. It used to be when you could play 2 commanders with partner decks. That was a very strong sequence. Esior and then something good, something like a Rayhan or a Dren or anything.
Tymna was a cool combination.
Anything in these kind of in this lane cards that you want to protect. Very good with Esior. When you just play Esior on its own, it's a 1/3 with Ward 3. You have to start putting auras on it or something if you want to actually do anything with it. And I think if you play Esior, you can, with a strategy that pumps him, Wilson is the better deck. So, like, not a card that needs to be on the ban list in 2025. Great that it's off. Have there been any changes that make you take it off now, or is it just we're unbanning cards and Esior was kind of on the list to unban already?
So for your point about the ban list, it's really interesting. I think for me that the ban list is important to keep people to play our format, because it's too powerful, and some play pattern that's not interesting. But it's a break to people's the new people's come to play our format, because when the format was on TGO, we saw something on Twitter that people say, "Oh, why Wasteland is banned, or why Esior is banned, why Rofellos Baral, or some other card." But yeah, it's important to having that in mind, I think. And our work is right now to say, okay, there is some relic of the past that is on the ban list, and we want to release it, and that we want to people can play this old cards. The problem with Esior in the past, that was a different rule of the partners. So before you can play the two partners each game. And right now there is a new rule change in 2023, I think, with the
2022, I
release
think.
of Yoshinobu.
Yeah.
So Esior was a card that was we were cautious about it because it's a card that diminish
Diminishes, yeah.
decrease the way of interact with it. It's like a card with a ward, or card with the ward of the old ward with Esior. Can be problematic because the deck that will play Esior will be a deck that it's a deck with who you will put around it, and you will play a tempo deck with Voltron strategy, a bit like Wilson or Lipo. So we want to be cautious about that because we want to play interactive. We want to promote interactive gameplay. Esior is not a great Magic card. It's not really played, and so we don't. I personally don't really think that the card will be a problem for the format, or we'll see a lot of play of this card. I don't think there will be the new tier 1. So yeah, we listen people that want to play it, and a lot of people say, yeah, why this card is banned, why all the bad cards is on the ban list, and yeah, we listen them, and we decide to release it, and so Esior is now legal, and you could play. You could play it.
Yeah, the owl is finally kept off captivity, or how do you say? Yeah, I think back then the set is from 2020 or 2021, I think. And like 4 or 5 years ago, we haven't had any access to portable holes and now seam
Yeah.
rips and whatsoever. We have many, and also like the elementals, for example. This is an ability-based interaction, while back then you had Fatal Push and stuff, which was and Swords, which were all great interactive spells, but they cost 4 instead of 1. These days we have many more things that on thin ice and whatsoever, you name it, that will just interact with Esior or ability based, so you don't have to pay additional mana, which makes it much
It's easier to interact with
absolutely.
right now than back
And
then. Yeah, sure.
that's why I even think I think Samuel is right with the guess that Wilson might even be still be the better partner despite being not really played. We face this Wilson every now and then, or we see some very passionate people playing like some Simic lists or maybe Gruul or something. It's here every now and then, but it might be also because of the can't be counter phrase that the bear still stays the better of
Well,
those
drop
two.
2, it's not and be countered. It's not so much problematic for 2 drops, but yeah, the big difference that Wilson is green, and so you need to play green, and it's not right now not the best color in the format, and Esior is blue, and it's a color that you can protect your commander, and you can play tempo basic basis deck. So the color is better in this strategy, I think.
Sure.
And you can play, for example, white or Esper. It will be, I think, the color access will make Esior maybe better than Wilson.
Yeah, fair. I think we will just wait what the community brings up. I'm pretty sure one or another will try to tinker with it if they are not overwhelmed with brewing one of the other 3 decks. Because if we have a look, it's not only about the Owl, it's also about Rofellos coming back. And Rofellos, yes?
No, finish your case. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think
yeah, but like I was just about to say that if I think about started Dual Commander in 2016 to 17, something like this, and back then it was pretty much the same as with the Loyal Retainers, that the card was on a ban list. There was no explanation for it. It was always like that. So the card was not really questioned because people thought it was extremely powerful for what it does if it's left unchecked. Now, a couple of years later, we just talked about all these CMC1, CMC2 effective, or sometimes even CMC0 in terms of free spells. We have all these effective ways to interact with creatures, mainly. So things definitely changed. My question would be how your conclusion on Rofello looks like that leads to the unban, and how you, if you did that, how would you envision like an impact on the future metagame, if it has any?
The card is we were a bit afraid about this card because it's a 2-drop that need to be a check because you can play a turn 3 Primeval Titan. So it makes us afraid of this pattern of gameplay. But Rofellos also just a 2-1. There is a lot of better removal. We don't need to play Council Judgment or Vindicate this day. And we can play a Cut Down, for example. Or Portable Old Simulator and all this new removal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the thing that makes the card a bit less afraid also is because when you play Rofellos, you need to play only Forest. And it's a rare cost. We know that there is a lot of great land like Abstergant Entertainment, War Room or something, or all this new land you can play Boss Age. And but you will not you can't really play in this deck because if you don't have Forest, Rofellos makes no mana. So it's a real cost to play this kind of mana base. And so it is like garde-fou, we say in French, but like guard fate of guard whales of the card. And also there is other deck that is mono green, and you can face on Primeval Tint on turn 3 right now. You have Azusa that do the same thing with land strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So there is other card that you need to be checked if in turn 2, and if you don't, you are dead. A card like Tifa, for example. So I think the deck will be less good that this deck is actually played, but I have not a crystal ball, so we'll see, and we'll see that what the people will do.
Yeah, we
I'll
talked
be
about the
interesting, but-
unban. We talked about the unban as well, and my issue with attempting to build Rofellos is that you probably have to play Dorks because you want to have something to do on turn 1 and you want to be able to ramp if your Rofellos doesn't happen. And then you also need to play the big green spells because if Rofellos happens, you need to do something with all your mana. So you have this kind of awkward deck building restriction where you are trying to hit cards to cast with Rofellos, and you've also got to play more ramp in order to be able to still cast those spells if Rofellos doesn't happen. And you might want to play land ramp as well in order to have Rofellos be better. And all these kind of factors come together to make a very difficult deck building, as well as not being able to play utility lands, where it's where you also will face those situations where you either draw all bombs and Rofellos doesn't resolve, or you draw only ramp and then you don't have anything to do with your mana.
The deck could have a problem of consistency, maybe, even if you had your commander that's doing stat. So yeah, it can be problematic, sure.
I think here we want to have at least 10 crop rotations in order to find Yavimaya all the time, which could be very important.
True.
Or you can shuffle good and always have Yavimaya.
You could do that too.
That makes it much easier.
Yeah, right. Okay, let's see again what the community brings up. I'm a bit excited about that one, to be fair. As I said, I've never seen it in a command zone, and maybe there are some spicy deck lists coming up. So we'll see about that.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the Wizard that was also kept banned for quite some time.
Not quite as long as Rofellos. Baral, he was legal when we first started.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, one of the bigger reasons that the card was banned was a sort of Sensei's Divining Top type ban in Legacy, where the tournament gameplay just got too annoying when the Barals just kept countering everything and then not winning the game because they were attacking for one every turn.
I think the deck was really good at this time too, because
it was definitely good, and it also struggled to win the game. I think with prints like Tolarian Serpent and Murktide Regent and a bunch of cards that can get pretty strong and actually win the game in blue nowadays, the list won't have those problems anymore, and we're probably looking at a pretty strong mono blue control deck. But I don't think it's too broken. I think it's very cool that the card is unbanned. What's your perspective? Do you think it's one of those maybe it'll be too strong type unbans, or do you think it's kind of just kept pace with how good commanders are nowadays anyway?
For Baral, I'm really excited about this card and this unban, because we know that a lot of people have really like mono blue and asking multiple times for a non-ban of Baral. Some pseudo on Discord is like unban Baral, for example, in French.
Yeah.
So yeah, we know that a lot of people want to play it and was interested. Also, it's like that mono blue tempo that is less existent right now. There is Malcolm, for example, that exists a bit, or Octopus, Octavia.
Yeah.
It's like deck in a bit in the zoo of the meta game, what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
But and it was an archetype that was a lot of play during the history of Duel Commander with also Venser, for example. It's a mono blue deck, so it's a deck that will be cheaper. It's I think good of where to enter in the format to have a cheap deck with no dual land, for example. I think it's really good to have this kind of deck in Duel Commander, and most of the cheap deck is like more aggro ones. And no, but you can play Baral, this more control one, so I think it's interesting. Also, we had the comparison with RAL, and it's two deck difference. It's a Storm deck right now, and I don't think Baral will be this one, because, for example, there is exist Lyre who do maybe better things about this.
Yeah.
But this strategy in mono blue. But and we saw that while it's not too powerful in the format, the big difference that is the looting effect on Baral, and it's not it's important things like we saw with Rafin that looting in Duel Commander is really strong because you play with no sideboard and you need to have a removal, for example, in hand, and so or counter spell or some card that have a specific effect in Duel Commander. So if you can loot it, it's important, and you can dig in your deck to look for the cards you need at the time. So yeah,
but I mean, like in mono blue, because you also have this dynamic in Malcolm that you just mentioned, and Rafine was a bit more powerful because it could loot like more cards at the same time, and there was also black added for like reanimation lines, for example. While here, of course, you can have it multiple times if you get to counter multiple spells in one turn or like in one instance. Then again, there's not that much sideboard aspect aside from maybe playing blue elemental blast and hydroblast and stuff like this. Like the impact, I think, is not as huge as if you would play more colors. That's at least it's like my impression of playing a couple of games with Malcolm so far, where like the loot effect is definitely powerful, and here it's less conditional in a way that eventually you're going to counter spells anyways in order to handle the threats of your opponents. So you will loot. You don't have to connect with the creature. That's definitely good. But then again, I think it's not too crazy.
No, it's not too crazy, but it's a good effect.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
It's not negligible.
And it's good. I mean, Baral is not instantly dying to Bowmaster once Bowmaster is on field. With Malcolm, Malcolm is not existent anymore. What I think is, like back then, and this still might be the case. Like for 2 mana, having a 1/3 body is on the defensive side not the worst. There are not that many creatures that maybe Yoshi, but if I'm looking at Red Deck Wins, they mostly have like 1 mana 2/2 creatures or 1 mana 2/1 creatures. So you get to block them, sometimes even trade them. So it's comparable to Thrasios in terms of that's for mana. And I actually thought about maybe there could be like a high tide value line included here for Baral. I think there are a couple of interesting thoughts regarding this commander.
There will be a lot of ways to build this deck. It
Yeah.
will be really interesting to see what people do with Baral, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah, you can play Polymorph also. You can
Exactly.
play with High Tide or with just a control or tempo deck. There is a lot of ways to build this deck. It will be interesting to see what people do with it.
All right. So third commander, but we have a fourth. We're not yet finished. We're moving over to probably the most hyped card in this very ban update. It's, should I say the full name again? We just stick to Asmo.
I will stick to Asmo, but you can try if you want.
I can. Asmoranomardicadaistinaculdacar. Okay, I fucked it up. Never mind. Almost. I said it right once. It doesn't matter. Yeah, Asmo's back. Pretty cool card. So I personally think I think I speak for most Duel Commander veterans that played this format at the time at which Asmo was released, it was to me one of the most enjoyable commanders that were ever printed because it has a very unique playstyle due to the madness, mayhem, discard things that it brings, like the synergies. And back then, it was considered to be, and that was the reason to ban the card, pretty dangerous due to the ability that's generated from Asmo herself that could trade food tokens for creatures. And in addition, the Rakdos card pool got better and better and better. We have that pool around as a very, at least in paper, a very prominent Rakdos deck. And these days, due to Modern Horizons and whatsoever, the 99 is just full of good stuff. And apart from the synergistic cards in Asmo that also affects this deck. So, in my opinion, in theory, the deck just improved. Nonetheless, you decided to bring it back to the playground. So I would be curious, what's the reason for that?
Yeah, the deck improved because there is new card that goes to strategy with Mayhem, for example, or with card like Mouthing Moko. But also this deck have a lot of cards that is banned. Like you can play Nemo Ragavan or Deadly Relic, Reanimate, Blonde Moon, and Dark Ritual. So
And Maddening Hex.
Moxamber also. And Moxamber also.
Yeah,
so,
and Maddening Hex was also played back then. The list also included Maddening Hex, if you remember the
well, sure.
the die roll.
So like 6 or 7 cards that from this deck that is banned, and even if the deck improved its new release, also the other deck improved themselves. We don't play anymore in MH2. We know like Lord of the Ring and MH3 when from now. So the format has grown up and improved. For the power of the format improved a lot. And back then. And also, but yeah, we have better removal to deal with Asmo. Right? The 3/3 for 1 that's come mostly in turn 2, but not so much pressure than before. I think like deck right now, like Yoshimaru does that too, and the format is slower. At this time, the aggro deck, because we say a lot that Asmo is the aggro deck that beat all the other aggro deck. But back then, the aggro deck was like Anafenza, Isamaru, and Winota.
Yeah.
So right now, the aggro deck is like, or the aggro, the mid-range proactive, mid-range dynamic deck is Slimefoot and Yoshimaru. So this deck can deal with 3/3 for 1 mana. Because, for example, Yoshimaru can be a 3/3 for 1 mana too. Also, the value with the food and the way that Asmo can deal 6 damage to creature, it's pretty slow. Because for now, you have Asmo on a turn 2 most of the time. And you need to play your cookbook, and you not anywhere. Anytime you can, your cookbook will go in turn 3 mostly because you need to pay 1 mana for cycling a card. So you have a removal on turn 4. Turn 4 is pretty long in the game with Asmo. Also, the deck is a lot reliable with the cookbook, and if you deal with the cookbook, okay, there is a 3-turn board, it will be put pressure, but the deck don't really work without it, because you play a lot of madness cards. You play cards that you need to put in the grave, like for example Hunger, Scree, or Skyfire Phoenix. So we test the deck against Aragon and Yoshimaru mostly, and our conclusion was that Aragon and Yoshimaru was maybe better deck than Asmo. The Asmo don't put so much pressure to this deck, and so we think that the deck is okay in the format right now. It's like you said, a unique gameplay, and I think an interesting one. The deck will play a lot of interactive games, and I think it's really interesting to have this new old deck in the format right now. I'm curious to know if people maybe will find the good deck list, and maybe it will be the best deck of the format. We don't know. I think it will not the case that the card will put not too much pressure on the format, but it's possible that we have wrong, that we don't play the best deck list in our test, and the card is too strong. It's possible. We don't have a crystal ball. We're not omniscient, and it can be the case. But also for this these unbans, we still have the abilities to decide to make emergency ban if we saw that the unban are too strong for the format and that we make a mistake, because mistake can happen, and we don't have a crystal ball, like I said. So it's important to note that every Monday, if we saw that one card recently unbanned is too strong, we can decide to ban it. So yeah.
Is that a change that only refers to this update, or is it like a permanent change for?
It's a change for this update.
Okay.
And it's a change that can maybe happen for new update if we test unban, because we want to change things. We listen people that people said, okay, there is too much card on the ban list. Why this X card or Y card, Y card is banned? And we listen them, and we want to go on this way and work with that and say, okay, we want to take risk. We'll be not crazy. No, we will not be crazy too and unban Black Lotus or whatever. But there is strong card that can be interesting in the format, and we want to have the abilities to make change because we listen people that want to play with this old card, and I understand that their way of thinking, their point of view. So yeah, and if we unban things, we will have this possibility to change every Monday. But I hope that will be not the case, that it will not make mistake, but it can happen.
Okay. So that's definitely an alert for all the people attending at some events. Take into consideration that the card, depending on the performance, might not stick around for too long.
But this emergency Urban will be emergency. It's like if the card is really too strong and we need the format, and we don't want to. If the card is strong, it's a tier one, but don't put too much pressure on the format. It'd be okay, I think. But if it's the new tier 0 and the best deck of the format, and that crush every event, we don't want that the format is bad for one more month, for example, and we're alert that we and that we can have these abilities. So yeah.
I see. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, I think the Asmo unban, it definitely came as a surprise to me, because I feel like the Rakdos card pool is very strong already, and just putting Asmo on the top into that card pool is pretty risky. But then again, I've been wrong before. I thought Ketramos would be too powerful. Ketramos was definitely not too powerful. And I still think Deadpool is a bit problematic. But then again, we have no one in our local meta playing the deck. When I play it, I feel like it's a very powerful deck, but I think the banning of Dark Ritual also made it a little bit worse. Yeah, these kinds of things, they're always difficult to predict. I feel like the list that I saw of Asmo seems a little underpowered. I think there's a bit more that you can do in that direction. But yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see how that develops. I think it's a powerful aggro deck, and there's a bunch of synergies that can be played nowadays that are very strong cards like Inti, cards like I think Croxer was definitely out, but we have Poxwalkers, so a Buried Alive is much stronger, as it can put if you Buried Alive and then cast Asmo afterwards.
Yeah, and we
you
have
suddenly have
Detectives Phoenix
9
and
power on board.
there's so
Detectives
many
Phoenix,
lines.
a bunch more stuff that the
The
1 mana cyclers, the land cycling creatures, they also I think increase the power level of the deck a lot because they fix your mana while letting you cast Asmo on turn 2.
And I also think
So
the deck is quite interesting if it goes in a reanimated direction instead of just going for the aggressive discard synergy pile. So again, same as with Baral, there are many ways to build this commander or this deck. And I think people will just be super happy about it, even if it's just like sticking around for 2 months and then we decide we have to let it go again. At least we've enjoyed some time with her again. That sounds a bit weird,
yeah,
but you get my point. After all, she's a cook from the underworld.
Totally. But one of the most problem with Asmo is that you need to play a lot of bad cards to make it works.
If you decide to go for the aggressive run, yeah. If you want to have her on board as early as possible, yes. If you go like in a reanimator direction, not that much. Like you don't have to play like the circling vultures and stuff like this in order to get her down as fast as possible, right? But I totally agree with you. It dilutes the entire deck because you have to play all these cycling things, and that are not called Oliphant or Troll or whatsoever. They're rather called what's the original Street Rave and stuff like that. You know, not really good cards. Scarab Feast or like Fairy Macabre is in some matchups it's good because you can exile something your opponent is trying to reanimate, but most of the time it's not really useful. So yeah.
The problem that we see with the deck is that it's an aggro deck that can't have a lot of recursivity and want to grind games because Asmo is a card with removal on a stick, so you want to play long games pretty long because you can grind it, but your top deck is miserable, and so if you have your 1 mana cycling in Asmo turn 1, and after you draw your Laelia, your Broadside, your Screaming Nemesis, it's really strong. But when you need to mulligan to find your cycler, and so you have maybe less cards in hand at your opponent because you want to have this get out, and after when on the late game you do your Frame Macabre or your Poxwalker, you are really sad.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I partially agree. I think the art of brewing will be to find like an optimum in terms of synergies, like synergistic cards, and also the things around that allow you to have like a nice balance between not playing too many dead cards in certain situations while still pressuring your opponent in a reasonable manner. Like, and also I think you mentioned earlier that the cookbook, like the deck might be useless without a cookbook. Maybe that's also something to think about. Like, okay, how does my deck interact with a cookbook, or how does this deck play out with the cookbook on field, and what can I do without a cookbook? Because that's definitely something that you have to think about, because that will be something that the players are tackling, and that's why, yeah, we will see. I'm very curious about the different lists that will come up. There's also the Relic Fest in beginning of November. We will definitely see some Asmo lists around there, and I will be very curious.
I think that collective intelligence will do better things than us about the Asmo deck list.
Yes, I think the hive mind will definitely bring something together. So for those of you who wonder about the list that we're talking about, I think we can say that some, if not, I will just cut it out later. Don't worry. That some of those matches or some of those decks were actually tested up from the committee, and yeah, so it's not like you're going into this unban without any data in mind, or like without any, how to say, proof that the card might be healthy or not, but it's rather that you have like you have a fundament for the opinions that you stated now regarding the card, and that's why Nicholas brought together a list, and that's the list that we're actually talking about.
You can put the deck list on the description, so people will know.
Yeah, sure.
Can be
That's
totally
a good idea. All right. Any closing thoughts from you, either Nicholas or Samuel?
I'm really happy that I was from a go, so I'm really happy about that, and really waiting for that people play the all cards that are legal, new. I don't know how to say that, but the cards, and we'll see what people do with it, and where the firm goes. So really interesting about that.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I'm super happy to see unbans. I think the consideration of, you've said it in a couple of these talks that we've had. You've said that you guys are always thinking about unbans, and now you've gone and done some, and I think that's a great move in my opinion, the right direction. It's awesome to see, and
in the light of all these secret layers and special products and stuff, this is our dual commander secret layer now, with having 5 cards unbanned at the same time.
yeah,
It kind of feels like that.
yeah,
because lots of things to suddenly experiment with. Usually you have like 1 or 2 cards unbanned, and then some players are, I don't like this card, but I can try out the other one. But now there is some selection, actually. So to the community out there watching, go out, brew some decks, and prove that either the core is wrong or right. Let's see.
If people can prove that we were wrong, it's really good about that. People can, it's a game. People play are here to break the formats that we offers.
Right.
It's the rules.
Okay. With that, I would close the session for today. Again, Nicholas, thanks a lot for being our guest and taking the time to answer our questions. And yeah, I would say we will see each other on the battlefield trying out these new cards. Until then, thanks for tuning in, guys, and see you in the next one.
See you next time.
Bye.